Hey, welcome to Blocktalk.
Hello, everyone. It's time for Blocktalk. It's that time of the day again, or the week, the month. We are on Bitcoin block 383581. And first, we just got to mention quickly some of our sponsors and good friends. We have Coinity. It's a charting platform which does some great work. And here you can see they got the Gemini exchange on, which they had since day one. And yeah, we got a little wick here that we're going to have to talk about today. We also have the Rational Investor, which looks like his site's down at the moment. But
Weird.
yeah, I'm doing his training course right now, and you'll see a review of that in the coming weeks here. And finally, we have Jumbups, the coolest altcoin around. And they're big fans of the show, and we'll be monitoring the channel in their Slack to talk about some of the topics they suggest. So without further ado, I guess we'll kind of go over who we have here. Hi, I'm Alex.
Hi, I'm Freddie.
Hi, I'm Jan.
Jan's from Deutschland, which is Germany. He lives in Vienna. He just arrived in Vancouver because his girlfriend's going to UBC. Very interesting. Jan actually helped build the Android version of the Mycelium wallet, which is amazing.
Of course it is. It's the best.
So we're happy to have him here today. And then we have some people calling in. So we have our same guest from last week, Eduardo, to come and claim his crown of guessing the Bitcoin price this week.
Oh yeah, you sort of nailed the prediction. Totally nailed it.
Done well.
Down to the dollar, that was not bad.
Not bad at all. Looking cool.
And then we also have another Vancouverite, Young Buffett.
Yes, how's it going?
Not too bad. You got the whole like Anon look going right now. Where you're just a silhouette.
It's just a shadow of a man.
Absolutely.
That's the content.
Not intimidating nobody.
That's funny.
And then we have a good friend of the show, Kazonomics.
Yay.
What's up, boys? I forgot to introduce my boy in the middle, Yosh. That's our HQ guy responsible for all the awesome graphics that you see on our site. And also some incredible option plays inside the room.
Yeah, what up, guys?
Very cool.
Super cool.
So I guess we'll kind of get into the grind here. I kind of wish we could meet on better circumstances because, yeah, what's going on in Europe right now is...
Oh, yeah. Can I just say it?
Yeah.
Everybody, like, big hearts out and open hearts to what happened in Beirut, first of all, earlier in the week, and, of course, last night, what happened in Paris.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Terrible, terrible. Okay, so...
yeah. So I guess kind of coming off that point, a lot of people are wondering, I guess, how the markets are going to react in the coming days with a lot of this sort of tragedy going on, which is it's sad to say that happened, but hopefully we, I guess, get a little bit of insight from Kaz and a couple of you guys on, I guess, how the other half will react to this.
Yeah, I mean, they're already closing the borders up.
Yep.
Right. So there's a lot of things that happen when borders get closed up.
Yeah, it's an ongoing situation, and it's kind of it's dangerous because this isn't like an attack from a nation or an established entity with borders. This is like an ideological war, and that's really difficult to fight. So the coming days, the reaction to it is going to be really important from all countries.
Yeah.
So
You may have any comments on that?
When you have a need for a reaction, generally the reaction is almost always overblown. I saw the French president say that they're going to have a merciless response, but the problem with that is that there is no enemy to really point a finger at this time. It's not a nation, it's not a national army, it's an idea, and this idea is much more dangerous than people realize because the more you fight it, the more it feeds it. Them trying to stomp out the terror threat in the Middle East is what's actually gotten it to the point it is today. So it's kind of like reverse psychology. They're gonna, whatever they attack, whatever they destroy, they're gonna fuel more, recruits to that same fighting force. It's never gonna go away. You can't beat an enemy that thinks they're going to paradise when they die and they're willing to wait around for you to kill them. I mean, look at the way these attacks work. They sit in their location until the authorities can kill them. They're not even trying to get away. How are you going to beat people that aren't afraid to die? So the response is probably, what they're going to do is more of the same: bomb something, destroy something, disenfranchise somebody else, and create the new recruits of another fucking attack.
Yeah.
That's my thought on it.
Do you have a comment?
Yeah, so concerning the borders, they are not actually closing the borders. They are just starting to check people at the borders again. So because within the European Union, usually you can cross borders without even having your ID checked. So it's not like they don't allow people in anymore. And they already plan to do more checks, or actually start checks at the border before anyway, because of some, I think, climate meeting in France or something.
Right.
So it's not like suddenly they're closing down, but of course these events will just make them even more.
Can I share an image that's very directed at that, what you just said?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna share a screen real quick. Take a look. I just came across this when my friends posted it, and it's like it's a joke, but it's actually quite true. This, you guys remember the migrant crisis? Let everybody in, unchecked.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what do you expect would be the fucking result?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then again,
600,000 people from a hostile nation into your borders without checking any of it. How many do you need to cause a problem? 5, 10, 100? They stuck 600,000 into that country from a war-torn area, and I guarantee you have a lot more problems that are inside your countries.
Well, you know what? I'm just going to throw this out there. If we wouldn't be bombing anybody, and we wouldn't be freaking raping them over their oil and stuff, and calling them ignorant fucks, you know what I mean? Maybe they wouldn't be so angry at us. So I'm just going to leave that there. You know what I mean? I think
you're absolutely right. Yeah, this problem is self-generated. I agree.
Yeah.
Hey, how do I stop this screen now? I don't even see the button to stop it this time.
Yeah.
I have a couple comments.
Yeah, go ahead, Eduardo.
First, I want to comment on the macroeconomic situation in Europe. The place is continually feeling more dense. And it has been feeling dense for a while now, and what happened yesterday is definitely the capitulation of density. We have a situation where, with ever-growing debt, I'm not going to consider the euro a successful currency by any means, and countries are increasing their debt levels continually every day. But at the same time, we have this migrant situation, is increasing the population size of a place that's already squeezed. So in many ways, what's happening over there now is precluding to the things that Satoshi built Bitcoin for in the first place. And what we're seeing right now is just, the first inning of multiple innings to come of what's ahead of us. Now looking macroeconomically again, I would say that on Monday, oil is going to be scraping the bottom, if not breaking that bottom.
Wow.
This is the situation that we're at right now. And when oil breaks, what's going to happen is Canadian dollar is also going to probably break bottom again and put us into a spiral of even more losses in the value of our currency. So,
why
as far as I'm concerned, yeah.
Why do you think? What's your reasoning for oil dropping?
Oil was already scraping the bottom yesterday. And on Monday, I would say they will probably be touching bottom again, and there's no hope in hell, especially after this weekend, that that's going to bounce off the bottom. I think it's going to break.
The instability in the region where oil comes from.
And it's going to break, and we're going to end up with a new lower level, which could possibly be closer to a bottom, maybe not. But as far as Canada goes, this is not good for us, and there's probably no better time to be buying some Bitcoin to hedge against that going forward.
Why do you think that the instability in the Middle East would not actually change the oil picture?
What do you mean change the oil picture? It's going to make it worse.
It's going to make it worse, so it's going to interrupt supply.
Yeah. The price is only going down right now.
There's
way too much supply. It's going to take a while for it to reset itself.
Well, any trouble in the Middle East means higher oil prices. So that's we haven't seen an escalation yet, really what we have, but if any sort of oil output from the region gets interrupted, the price will start going the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, relatively speaking, oil is down quite a great deal, and you change, the forward visibility of oil supply crates and whatnot, you probably would have grounds for a more bullish scenario on oil. Oil is massively underpriced. All commodities are. You look at gold, oil, silver. These things are being destroyed since 2011, since you had really heavy deflationary pressures introduced into the macroeconomic picture. that hasn't changed. Credit dislocation is allowing real estate assets to not follow suit, artificially propping those markets. But commodities as a whole have shown massive deflationary pressure across the last 4 years. And gold's down from 1900 to 1080. Oil is off from 147 to 40. So it's not as if the price of these assets, in terms of all other assets on the planet, aren't massively discounted at the moment. So I would think supply, interruption in the Middle East, any kind of real outbreak of war with Russia in the region, with the U.S. in the region, with France's military entering the region, and anybody else that joins this, stands to create a great deal of instability at a time that oil is at a place that it could probably find meaningful support. Bitcoin is a hedge, though. That's an interesting call. I don't know if Bitcoin really could be used as a hedge. I know Barry Silbert said Bitcoin's a non-correlated asset, which, because if the newness of it, the adoption phase, the amount of capital that stands to flow into it, into a finite medium, Bitcoin is its own thing at the moment. I do agree with that. I don't think you can really, and in that regard, it is a good hedge, against everything else in the world, because it's not really tied to much of what's going on in the world.
Yeah, if you want to hedge your Canadian dollars, just buy some American dollars.
Bingo. You got a USD bull market that has not stopped in 14 months, and people are dying to call the end of the USD, and that has been a catastrophic mistake for the last 7 years.
Okay, so I think we can kind of move on to our next topic. Kaz, you had someone on Twitter ask you about
Cattle.
About cattle and cattle? Yeah, cattle. This is actually a market that's close to my heart, and this is kind of something I've been doing since I was a kid. Is buying and selling cattle, raising and whatnot, growing up on a farm. And so corn prices and cattle are definitely something that I want to talk about in more seasonal regularity of markets.
So I flipped houses with cows, huh?
A little bit, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, let me screen share that. Let me get a chart for it real quick. Okay.
Wow, corn looks awful right now.
Corn, dude, commodities look fucking terrible.
Yeah,
That is
corn
the
looks
absolute
terrible.
opposite. So this is a one-day chart. Get a one-day up for it. And you guys know I just use just directional averages to give you, I'm very big on the psychology of price. So rising prices tend to be green, right? Obviously, will be falling. Now, you look at cattle. You could look at this in a vacuum, but you really shouldn't. And let's look at a couple commodities behind cattle. What's the symbol for corn again? It's Z what? Yosh.
I think ZC or.
I think that's it. Oh, commodities are just friggin' weak. Let me get more time on this. Let's look at this really. So 2011, which to me was the high point of the commodity cycle. This is where I found the top of gold in the summer. I found the top of silver in April. And it was tied a lot to do with, China. China's been under pressure since this point in time. And if you look at economies like Russia and China, RSX, you'll see that, the commoditized nations, they all hit a high in 2011. Most people have not been paying attention to this. But this undercurrent in the market's been going on the entire time. So while you have all people chasing the bottom of gold, chasing the bottom of, silver, they aren't really looking at the relative marketplace that's going on across the whole asset basket. You look at things like this, that's gold. Notice that this is gold, this is silver, not just cattle, it's everything, commodity, everything is suffering this. And the one thing that's not doing this is U.S. indexes, U.S. dollar, U.S. real estate. And real estate, like in the UK and many other parts of the world, is going to gangbusters. But you do have deflationary pressure in the system, massive amounts of it, that people are neglecting to look at. None of these charts look healthy. These are very obvious crash cycles. If anybody's ever studied the crash cycle pattern, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see it. Right now, we're seeing commodities like this. This is cattle now finding a high here at the end of 2014 and just getting obliterated. This is, I know he was talking about he's holding some, he's looking for an exit out of it. Seasonality matters, but also relative value matters. And, what's driving cattle prices and corn prices and things like that off the cliff right now. I don't think I necessarily have the full logic to give you that answer, to be honest. I mean, corn looks far worse than cattle does. If I look at corn versus cattle, I'd say cattle has a long way to go to catch the valuation of corn. You see that, right, Yosh?
Yeah.
And that would be obvious by looking at something like LE1, the futures contract, LE1 by ZC, just like we do in markets, right? Bitcoin versus dollars, we can look at cattle versus corn, and that to me is a crash cycle formation beginning, which tells me that cattle likely can reprice in terms of corn, which can bring that price in dollars off a cliff. I've been looking at things like platinum. You know, most people don't focus this as an industrial metal. I mean, platinum's just been fucking obliterated. It's now, you know, almost $100. It's more than $100 south of the gold price. If you watch things like platinum gold ratios, this is what's happening there, right? Gold's going moon. It's really a sign of like more deflation in the system. Is what I think it is. You know, platinum is a booming metal in expansions when places like China and such are just consuming tons of it. That's not happening right now.
There's plenty more room for gold to go down.
I mean, there's plenty more room for gold to go down. You know, in terms of platinum, obviously it's killing platinum, but in the realities of it are the entire metals basket is getting fucking obliterated. What's palladium again?
Looks like young Buffett maybe has something to say.
Yeah, well, it's been pretty interesting too. I've been following a lot of this as well, and I noticed that it's been interesting too, even with like the recent report with the Organization of Economic Cooperation Development, where they were basically saying, I think this just came out today actually, where it was like the global economic growth slowed down 3%. They were saying global imports has dropped 2%. Like this year, we've been noticing, even just as far as volume goes, there's just been a lot of drops in these sectors. And I mean, the thing is like, even if we do have a war, I'm just wondering, like, how much will that do for global economic growth? You know, I know obviously wars, they obviously stimulate economic growth because you need to spend all this capital. But I mean, just like the way we're looking at the charts and everything, is that really going to be enough this time to get us out of that bubble? Really, are we going to be able to delay it with another war? I mean, it's pretty interesting just looking at the way things are shifting. It's, I mean, I'm really, you know, what Kazanomics is talking about, it's pretty evident that this is, you know, one of these slumps that I don't know if another bubble is going to dig us out of this one, or if it's something we really will face the consequence.
Interesting. Eduardo, do you have anything to add?
I don't really follow those commodities that much, so I don't have much to add, other than the global picture is looking more and more like what Bitcoin is built for.
Bitcoin fan to the end. I like it. I think what young Buffett was saying, you know, you kind of need to zoom out a bit to kind of get context to that. You know, can another war really do anything for the bubbles that we see that we keep on facing? But I'm going to show you a chart if I can locate it fast enough that will actually put that into really interesting context. Here, I found it. Okay. So where did you go? Screen share. This chart is 100 years of asset pricing, right? And look at it. Like, I put a couple things in this chart. This is the Dow Jones for 100 years. And you guys know all the different wars that have occurred across time. You look at them and you really look at this. This is the closed system that most people don't look at. They're like, oh, we're always having more debt, more debt, more debt. But debt tied to assets means that you can use the credit to pump the assets. And that's the counterparty of the trade. Yeah. Most people don't look at it together. But when you take the dollar, the medium of exchange for all assets, and you put this puzzle piece together, you see that the debt is actually what's used to leverage the planet and, you know, leverage production and leverage the human population. I don't see any reason that another bubble wouldn't propel us even higher. It's done it every time, and that every time that it happened, the people's, you know, outlook on things was the darkest it could be. Ultimately, sentiment and understanding crowd sentiment is not the greatest science out there in markets, but you ever understand why when everyone thought Bitcoin was dead, it goes moon, and when everyone thinks Bitcoin should go moon, it goes dead? You know, there's the valuation in a system, a closed system is a determinant of the market participants in that closed system. At the point that everyone thinks that the world is going to end, there is nobody else to join that party. And at the same time, when people think that Bitcoin is going to go moon and everybody and your mom agrees with you, then there's no more idiots to join that party to sell the idea to at ever higher prices. So when you find that, you know, people are all the debt, that story hasn't worked in 100 years. If you're going to pick the debt to be the reason that this all comes apart, in 2015, you haven't been paying attention to history.
Yeah. We run out of debt. Like we pay that debt off, it's going to be a pretty big.
If you have no debt, you have no money.
We don't want to pay that debt off.
The debt is the money.
The debt is the money.
When you had a reduction in debt in 2008 and 9, what did you see around you? Everyone had no money. The debt is the money. It's fiat currency. It is a debt instrument. Like, that's the thing that people understand about money and debt, that they're actually one and the same. The expansion of the debt system, the debt bubble, in another war is going to mean the expansion of prices of all assets, and it'll actually help push this bubble to even higher levels and be more ridiculous than it already is. I think war might be the only thing they can think of that would stop a massive deflationary crash, because if the markets revert to catch the performance of the global commodity complex, you're going to see deflation on levels you've never seen, and people are going to be fucking, in the streets. So a war might very well be the only thing that to actually stop the deflation of the bubble.
Kaz, did you say that people are going to be fucking in the streets?
You know what I meant, like in the fucking streets, man. Goddamn comedian. But yeah, think about it. The only thing that's going to generate enough debt creation, like you think about it's like a balloon with a hole in it, and they're trying to pump fast enough before the air comes out. The only thing that's going to increase the rate at which they can pump that balloon to kind of stave off the deflationary pressure would probably be a global war. That's the only thing bigger than the financial bailout I can think of to generate more credit in the system.
All right, I gotta step in. I have lived for a little while. I've been I was a kid in the 70s and a teenager in the late 80s. So I just want to say that there's always been some kind of war, but we just came out of a major period of war that was very much like the Vietnam War, and I don't think that we're about to enter another sustained big war scenario again for a long time. But I hear what you're saying. I just from my own personal life experience, I think we're into more of a peaceful time. We have a Democratic president in the White House. We probably going to have another Democratic president in the next White House. And we have a very Democratic leader in Canada. You know what I mean? So, I don't think we're going... I mean, I hear you, but I just don't think war is where we're heading right now.
I mean, you have Russia, stepping into the global arena, which they never really participate in global affairs to the degree they are now. China is openly screwing with us in the South China Sea, and we're screwing with them. You have a lot of large superpowers that are overly active in the geopolitical scene right now. I think that's concerning. You have an enemy that nobody can actually put a definitive location on where to go to attack this enough. You have a really heightened level of fear in the world today. And, catastrophes like these bombings and things, they take far more life because there's just more life on this planet to be taken. I think you have the groundwork for a lot of problems. We have Russia fighting with us, trying to save their currency, save their economy. We're sanctioning and choking the shit out of them. They are pretty much acting like us, waltzing with Syria and saying, well, you walk into every country doing what you want, so we can too. And the U.S.'s ability to kind of manhandle the entire geopolitical climate is kind of waning. So I think you're kind of in the midst of a shift in power, and the U.S. at the end of 200 years of being an empire is in its course in that cycle. I think right now you're starting to see a lot of people vying for control of the next 100 years. And to me, China's the sleeping giant there. They changed their childbirth policy, which most people didn't pay any attention to, but I've known for a long time that at the rate that China's population is growing, that by about 2040, China would require almost the entire planet to sustain their population for food. Now, if they just open the doors to double the rate of growth of their population legally, China's either planning to colonize this entire planet or capture Mars or do something crazy.
Or America could just nuke the fuck out of them.
That's a dangerous game. I just wanted to point this out. I kind of there's a lot of tension globally right now. And where you see it is in the military exercises. We had Jade Helm, we've had China flexing, we've had Russia flexing, and just the other day, NATO has the biggest exercise they've had in years. It's not random they're having these. This is saying don't fuck with me. That everyone's trying to show off their military prowess. That's not a good sign.
Well, and there's something going on in the South China Sea too, where China's building an island, and then they're calling it now it's Chinese waters. So now there's a U.S. military ship that's just cruising through there every day, just waving high and saying we're not breaking any laws. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. Like that sort of scenario.
It's true. Yeah, you guys are making some really valid points.
It is scary for the moment, but I think we're kind of on the right side of history here with the Bitcoin movement at least.
Oh yeah, let's go back to Bitcoin. That's kind of what we're talking about, isn't it?
That's what I was gonna ask. Is like, with like, hypothetically, if we did have sort of this war and everything go on, to sort of like sustain this bubble, how do you think Bitcoin could disrupt it? Like, where do you guys see it? Like, where do you guys see Bitcoin making it not be the same pattern as, World War II, for example? Because, in World War II, there wasn't this alternative, right? So, I mean, this is what's interesting me is like, what sort of ripple is Bitcoin going to have when these things go down? Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out is like, what will the impact be ultimately in the long run? It's sort of the one variable I don't understand the most is when the world is unstable, how is Bitcoin going to kind of jump in there?
That's a good question. Who wants to answer that one?
I don't think Bitcoin's going to make much of an effect on,
Yeah,
on it at all.
And as far as the prices or like, as far as volume goes even, it could be anything really.
Yeah.
I do know that Bitcoin loves chaos. So, for itself,
that's a good point.
is it going to help anything? Not really. Will it help Bitcoin itself? Probably.
Interesting.
Pico had a great quote actually, likening it to gold, where gold is backed by the broken promises of politicians, and I think Bitcoin's kind of in that same sort of scenario there, right?
Yeah, there was something interesting. I don't know if you can pull up on your screen, Alex, but yesterday the Bank of Canada said that they were looking at a very serious alternative to monetary easing, Bank of Canada Innovation. Under Google News, you might find it. And they're looking at innovating their way out of money problems now. So I'm going to see if Alex can find it here. There it is. That's it right there.
All right.
Yeah, so this is very interesting. I'm going to share the screen here. Alex has it on his screen. Bank of Canada, Caroline, whatever the fuck her name is, said innovation key to central bank policy to stretch its new limits. So, it's very interesting that, central banks are actually looking at our technology right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's very, very interesting. And
I have a comment on the article.
Wait, where does it say that they're using anything with Bitcoin?
Oh, there's not. Innovation.
Oh, okay.
It actually mentions Bitcoin in the middle of the article, and they're talking about different options how to innovate our way out of this mess, which is essentially a whole list of very bad ideas, except for the one speck of good idea in the middle of it all, which is the Bitcoin mentioned in there. Well, they're starting to think and accept the fact that perhaps their control to manage the monetary system is going to be decreased if we continue moving into this peer-to-peer, decentralized form of doing things. So they're starting to accept that maybe they're going to lose control, and it's okay.
Very, very, very interesting. So that's kind of cool. Young Buffett, bro, I don't know if Bitcoin's going to change the world, but it does seem like there are some efficiencies that might streamline into the general economy, and that might ease some of the tensions between the have and the have-nots. We have to keep in mind also, even though our population is growing, we still have never had this amount of wealth in the world. We've never had this many people not dying prematurely. We've never had this little amount of disease on the planet and this little amount of starvation on the planet. So even though people are still complaining about everything all the time, because we're more aware of things perhaps, we're still growing and becoming better as a civilization. Which is weird, right? Anyway.
That's hopeful, I think.
I'm a hopeful guy. So, what's next on our topics? Because I'm going to go back to school soon.
Actually, more in the Canadian news. Ontario has prepared to implement a cap-and-trade system to decrease carbon emissions, and I think this is going to be moving to Alberta and maybe the federal government as well. But I was curious on thoughts on cap-and-trade, guys. As we were kind of talking about oil earlier with Eduardo, maybe he can open us up to this.
Edward, any comments? Or what do you think of cap and trade? Any thoughts?
My thoughts on cap and trade. I don't think it's going to make much of a difference immediately. It's good that we're doing it, but there's still too much power in the oil companies and their control of the government for it to actually make a dent on what's going on.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Kaz?
Yeah, Kaz, what do you think on the whole cap and trade system?
I'll be honest, I do not have enough intel on cap and trade to give you an intelligent answer on that. I know that the goal to cap emissions and kind of institute global regulations on emissions is what they'd like to achieve, but I don't know enough about the nuances of it to give you an intelligent answer. Like I told you, I'm a person I can tell you I don't know if I don't have the actual answer. I think China, is in a different era of regulations and growth. China's like America 50 years ago before mainstream regulations we have. I think trying to get everybody in the same standard all at once is inefficient and not likely. The economies of scale are too varied and different. I don't see it as being a plausible path that everyone can agree to, but I don't know enough of the nuances of what's going on behind it to give you much more than that. Also, I apologize. My voice is really shitty because I'm incredibly sick.
Has anybody, any of our guests, ever been to China?
I've been to China.
Yeah?
I have not.
Anybody else have been to China?
I have not.
Sorry, who's that? Nobody else has been to China. Tell us about China. Is it really dirty?
Yeah. So it has been quite some time. So when I was still in school, I had like 2 or 3 weeks in Shanghai.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's really so like the area was really dirty, but it was a super big city, and so I did not wear some mouth protection or like many people running around there. So it's not like it was hard to breathe or whatever, but it felt just very different from here, and especially like seeing everybody wearing these mouth protection thingies and so on, you just start to think that there must be something to it, right? So I can't tell that it was really, I wasn't like scared for my house or something, but I don't know.
Where in China, man?
Shanghai.
Shanghai. Yeah.
Crazy. Cap and trade, bro. I don't know. I hope so.
I think Ontario kind of makes sense because Ontario is very manufacturing based. So if it's you have all these guys with massive smokestacks that are doing regular business, and it kind of makes more sense. For Alberta, it's a whole other ball game because the whole oil sands and that's just a whole mess. So I think we'll see how it rolls out in Ontario, but.
Well, like most likely, the only result of this is just going to be tougher on small industry to even compete because it's just another tax. It's there's a reason why like the big industrial countries of the world don't have these systems, and that's because they need to fucking make goods to sell. So although it's a nice idea and we're saving the whales, it's just it's gonna hurt the economy.
There was a bit of a kerfuffle earlier this week talking about government subsidies around the world for the oil industry, and no one can quite get the number right, but I'm fairly confident in Canada we do subsidize it quite a bit. And I think
for sure.
The easiest way to actually target those emissions is to cut the subsidies off and invest it into something actually decent.
That's brilliant. Totally agree. 100%.
Yeah.
Well,
why are we supporting that with our tax dollars? It's like, I don't like paying taxes because it goes to what? Supporting killing the planet and war.
Agreed.
That was the main argument I heard about it in Australia was, it's easy for the big companies to game it, and then it hurts smaller businesses. And I think Eduardo, you make a good point where maybe we should look at the money that's going out already rather than bringing in new money as a better source of our time and effort.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I think that kind of covers what's going on in the real world. We can go back to the crypto world if everyone's keen on that.
Yeah, dude.
So Bittrex posted that they are delisting a bunch of markets. I think there's about 20 in total. I just kind of reached out to them. I'm like, oh, do you guys want to come on the show and just do a heads up on it? But this isn't the first time they've done delistings, and then it's not really based on their opinion of coins. It's based on the hard evidence of like blockchains are dead, or the devs are just unresponsive, or there's just no volume in the market. So kudos to the guys at Bittrex, because they do everything they can because they don't want to shut down these markets. So if one of your major holdings is on their list, I'm sorry, but that's kind of more.
Do we know what the list is? Can you show it on your screen?
Yeah, I think I can do a full screen share.
Let's take a look at what we got.
Let's see here. Let me have to.
I wonder if Litecoin's made that list.
Actually, Light Doge is on it.
Light Doge?
Yeah. Here, let me reshare the Jumbucks Slack here. Go entire screen. It should be up there. So here's the list here. Dark Market, I think it is. Crave, which did a massive rip back in the spring. Apex, iBits, Potcoin, which is kind of surprising. I know Jesse will be upset about that. He loves his weed coins. Mapcoin, Kobo, I think that's Hypermarket, not Hyper Crypto, the gaming one. Excel, Track.
What's Track?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look up the pin, but yeah.
So it's basically nothing really that anybody knows about.
No, I think half of these coins belong to a notorious scammer known as Bob Surplus. So
wow.
Yeah.
They're not even shit coins. They're like P coins.
Yeah, these are basically great pump and dumps. Like they have activity for about like 2 weeks, and they maybe get added to a couple markets, and then they just go off grid, and then they're basically off the end. So
that's good. That's good, Mark. That's a good thing.
So if you are upset about any of these getting delisted, don't contact the devs and ensure them to reach out to the guys from Bittrex, because they're trying to do the same, and they're not getting any response back. Yeah. So they can't really have people trading coins that can't actually move because their assets are dead. So I guess. Can
you do me a favor, Alex?
Yeah.
Can you pull up last week's Bitcoin chart? Let's talk about what happened last week. We had a big drop last week, remember?
Yeah.
And you did pretty good on your shorting that night. And I was like shitting my pants because I bought in, just above, 420 again, Canadian. So, here we are.
This is Ether. But I was just curious if anyone had any comments on coins being delisted, or the shadiness of altcoins in general in some cases.
I mean, 99.9% of altcoins should be delisted. They serve no function but as pump vehicles.
I agree.
The devs should be put in jail as well.
Yes.
Yeah, the guys they're literally creating this just strictly to suck people in, to take capital and pump it and dump it. It has no fucking use beyond this. At this point in the altcoin cycle, after how many hundreds have been created, that a non-tech is going to change the game. This marketplace is going to change the game. Razor Coin is going to change the game. I mean, how in the world people are still falling for this shit this long in the game is incredible.
Agreed.
They're all crap. You want an easy answer? All the shitcoins are fucking crap. Bitcoin may be the only thing that survives, and blockchain tech is most likely going to be the innovation from Bitcoin that makes it do so. Yeah. Everything else out there, and Trex, Polo, everything is complete dog shit.
Yep. Interesting.
It's at a massive scale now with the Garzas and fucking.
I mean, they look at the size of the ponds. Yeah, that's true. That's a great point, yeah.
I mean, these are huge scale ponds now. It's no different at, whether it happens to fucking Potcoin or any of these other coins.
Kaz, can I ask you a question? Like, I want to know how you feel about all the other alts, which is, they're mostly garbage. Are there any that you actually think are worthwhile?
I thought the promise of what Ethereum talked about when it came on the scene was interesting, and smart contracts and things like that. But I think outside of them, the non-tech was interesting when people first mentioned it, but for wide-scale adoption, it was just not a likely thing, because no municipalities are going to sanction the ability to completely hide everything they do. Mm-hmm. I think the smart contract, side of it is interesting. I think NASDAQ venturing into blockchain tech is interesting. Outside of those, well, we don't really see much else. When I spoke with the Augur guys, I kind of liked the idea behind what they were talking about, but I didn't really like the way they were going about it.
Yeah, the Augur show was really interesting. I myself didn't buy into it because it was the legal kind of ramifications. I wasn't really sold on those.
Being mindful of the law is not the answer to getting around the law.
But as for Ethereum, yeah, last show I mentioned that I bought some just for kind of a short-term flip because of the Ethereum conference that was going on, DevCon.
Did you do it?
Yeah. I bought at 23,000 satoshis and sold at 29.
Nice.
So just I should have probably done margin with it, but I can't justify doing margin with altcoins. The liquidity just isn't there. The fuckery is too high. But the DevCon was really cool to check out. So anyone who wants to learn more about Ethereum, you got to realize that Ethereum itself is on a level where they have a conference entirely devoted to Ethereum, like not where like other altcoins are piggybacking on the Bitcoin conferences. So the DevCon 1, they have 5 like 8-hour videos, but the first and the last one are pretty good. You can hear Vitalik giving a good conversation here at about 4-hour mark about smart contracts in kind of a 101 fashion. So it's really eye-opening to see how fundamentally different Ethereum is to Bitcoin. They're definitely.
Wait, you can trade Ethereum on margin?
Yeah. Polo, you can pre-exit.
Yeah, Polo.
And you can short it?
Yep.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
a couple of
Ace and them were raping it over there on one session.
Oh.
They were just in there just killing Ethereum back and forth, man.
I didn't know you could short shitcoins. I mean,
How many of them can you do over there? 3 or 4 of them over there you can do, right?
No, there's like 10.
Yeah, Polo's got a lot of it right now.
I need to take a couple look at these.
Oh yeah, we can short coins over there. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like
Ethereum short was fucking money.
What kind of volume do you guys? What do you guys short on it? Like, how much do you guys short generally?
I mean, you got to pay attention to what's in the order book. I always recommend people build your positions over time. Liquidity is always the issue in markets, and you go find gigantic walls in there, you're gonna make yourself get killed. You could, if you're gonna build a position in Ethereum, take your time. If you want a couple BTC positions, just don't go firing it all in like 13 seconds and wonder why it goes the other way.
General group policy is 5 to 10% of your capital put into margin is never more than that.
I think he's talking about what kind of sizes you can take in the thin altcoin market.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to go into the leverage markets, yeah, and you can have a 30, 40 coin position in Ethereum right now, and with the leverage kind of high, and be fine with it. And there's obviously many of the other shit coins over there, you can anywhere near like 10 BTCs, and you stick out like a sore thumb and you get murdered.
Wait, so who is providing the liquidity for this?
Bolo, I guess.
Yeah, and this is a conversation I've had with the Bittrex guys on the Slack before. Is there's ways of doing margin trading, but generally it involves having a lender. So I'm not sure how Polo is actually doing that, if they actually have a lender for it, or they're doing a similar platform like swaps. But yeah, I know Bittrex is working on it. It's just a matter of they want to do it legitimately with capital investment. So that's kind of.
You do the thing on Phoenix, like where you lend to other traders. I don't know if they have that in Polo. I've really seen that. Do they do something where the traders themselves can provide liquidity in the margin market, or no?
Yeah, there is a lending tab here on the Polo. Freddie, do you think you can share my screen here? So
yeah, I was just reading about that North Korea has 99% literacy rate.
That's impressive.
Yeah. What do we got here? 99%, yeah.
Oh, I think it's 900%. I was like, what the fuck?
I know, I guess 99% of them can read. Also, free healthcare, no terrorism, no gun crime, no illegal immigration, no taxes in North Korea, and legalized marijuana.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Korea's
Didn't mean to go there, but I just went there.
Looks like I'm moving to North Korea.
It's probably not as bad as you think.
Yeah, and there's lots of crystal meth. Lots of meth available too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right, so back to where we are.
Yeah, no, there is a lending tab on Polo, and I'm pretty sure that relates to their what they're doing with margin trading.
Interesting. I should lend them my freaking extra coin. That's great.
Yeah, so there's a bit of like a buyer's market there with you have there's an order book with rates and stuff. So loan demand. Some guy's got a post here that he wants to borrow like a half a Bitcoin at 0.1%.
Yeah,
There's
loan
no
demand.
risk on this?
That's kind of a dead book for loan demand. That's terrible.
No one wants it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Could we touch on a couple of the coins we talked about last week?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we okay, well here I'll pull up the chart here. So yeah, we have Ether here, but we talked about
Monero.
I'll bring it up.
Monero.
I'll bring it up the Monero chart.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Eduardo.
I'm going to mention Monero again because, again, I've done a lot of a lot of study and a lot of looking at that as an alternative and what value propositions it have for everything. And if you notice it on, I'm actually going to share the screen now. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chart now. This is ridiculous. The rip we had after the show.
Whoa.
And I called that just before it happened because I saw that it was coming. But
Good, dude.
what I want to point out is that the liquidity for Monero is actually really high, and the trading volumes are the highest other than LTC.
Whoa.
I noticed they have a lot of pairs on like sites like Cryptsy and stuff with Romero.
Here's the Monero chart. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so last week, right around here, I said, let's relook at Monero because we're about to do a bit of a bounce. And sure enough, a day and a half later, we went from 001 to 015 on a huge, massive buy of 35,000 coins. And now it's kind of hanging out, trying to correct again after that massive buy. And I would say that it's in the process of bottoming out and reversing. And something to look at is that if you magnify out, highest price it's been is 00581, and we're down here. So long-term speaking, I think the way now is up. If we can break that 004 previous peak over there, then we're going to have something that's going to go pretty high, I think. So again, I recommend buying some because for a long-term investment, this is not a short-term let's play around. I think that we all need to have 1,000 of them sitting around, and like a bet in a way of Bitcoin 2.0 would be.
Did you just call a long-term investment in altcoins just now?
I did. I was considering Monero
Yeah, what is long-term?
Yeah, it's not, don't ever use those two words.
How long is long?
Yeah, how long is your long-term? Like years you talking about?
I'm talking years, yes.
My God.
Yeah, I've done my due diligence, and I'm telling you, like, this is the one.
You're gonna
I
pick
know
out
you hear that from every other altcoin.
An altcoin that's gonna make it years. Well, Eduardo, I'm gonna have to put you on the follow. Where are you? What are you into?
I'm into Monero, Dash, and Ether.
What's your Twitter handle?
My handle where?
On Twitter. Are you on Twitter?
I do not use Twitter purposely.
Interesting. You need to find a place that you post these legendary market calls so that I can see them.
Yeah, I post them here when we're talking.
So just so, I mean, Eduardo, you haven't really given them much of a background. These guys don't know you yet. I mean, we know who you are. But maybe do you want to let Kaz and young Muffet and the other boys know what you've been up to and stuff, and take off the screen share if you feel like it?
Yeah, let me take off that screen share. Hold on a second.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, tell them what you've been up to.
So the first thing that I do, my real life job is I own a chain of Apple specialty shops in BC. We got 3 retail locations and 3 offices. We probably sold the first Apple device for Bitcoin in Canada way back when for about 220 BTC for 1 Mac.
Whoa.
So that's how we kind of got introduced to it. And then there was the famous like $10,000 breakfast that I had with my friend who paid me in some Bitcoins, and then a couple of years later I was like, well, that breakfast worth 10 grand. That's awesome. I'm really going to get into this. So then I got into mining, and we mined a lot, mined quite a bit of coins. And I got into the ASIC revolution, and once that finished, I basically got into trading because I figured that was the best way to continue building the stashes. And I've been in that trading world for almost 3 years now, and I've done fairly good with it. I'm in the positives. And I played with some altcoins. I mined a lot of LTC before they went to $50, and I dumped them. And I've been trying to find other things that work really well other than the Bitcoin because I feel that it gains value, and the fee market grows into higher fees. There's going to be a need for something else that we can use for day-to-day. I don't think it's the functional coin for you to be buying a coffee with all the time. And I've looked at Monero, I've looked at Ether, I've looked at Dash. And as far as day-to-day stuff goes, I think the bet is on Monero and Dash. I like Monero as a complete different technology than all of the other alts. So something were to go wrong with the Bitcoin code that is replicated in all the other coins, Monero wouldn't suffer from it, so it's a hedge against something going wrong. And the reason why I like Dash is because of the masternode factor. There's an incentive for you to run a node where you have to have 1,000 Dash to run that node, and it gets locked in. And on average, a 10 masternode setup, which is 10,000 Dash, will return about 6 BTC in profits every 3 months with minimal effort on your part. So as you're having this capital locked in and running, you're just getting 6 BTC all the time. So I think it's a good bet. And the other part is that Dash is about to introduce something called a decentralized API that will allow it to do things that kind of Ether touches upon, but it's going to be running live as it is. So it's something we can use right away. There's less talk and more action in the Dash world. So I suggest looking at that as an alternative coin as well if you haven't.
Cool.
Yeah, and I just want to point out that Eduardo's amazing. He's made some really, really good calls in the past, and just in the past week alone, he's made a couple of really good calls for us. Monero and the Bitcoin call, which was.
I like the hedge against the Bitcoin code that he said about Monero that it's unaffected. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Dash, the Dash nodes. I think Dash's big problem is adoptability. That this non-tech based coin is just never going to be widely used. The main issue. Jamie Dimon said something interesting. Last week when Bitcoin was doing all this craziness, and you had a lot of those big Wall Street guys make comments about it. He said something that I thought stuck out of all things is that what about blockchain being used to move fiat currency? Couldn't that be a possible evolution in the marketplace right now, that the blockchain tech, the distributed ledger, gets separated from everything else, and we end up with blockchain-based fiat?
Yeah.
Is that a possibility?
It seems like, for example, something like Tether. I'm not sure if you've looked at that before. Tether is kind of USD on the blockchain.
No, I haven't looked at that one yet.
Tether is USD on the blockchain, primarily used for you to exchange arbitrage. So if you want to add something from Bitfinex to another exchange quickly, so you can do a quick arbitrage, you can use Tether for that. The catch is you have
Ripple.
to be. It's like Ripple, but probably I'd say better because it's actually supported by some of the big ones. So that's what Tether does. But the catch is, in order to use that, you have to go through the full, anal probe of know your customer and all the other stuff. So that's why I prefer not to use it. So if you're going to do arbitrage, try to use something else.
So, what's to really stop them from having the USD itself on the blockchain, and that being, the reserve currency of the world, integrating with the best aspects of Bitcoin's technology to keep the banking cartel in control of the world at large, while harvesting the best parts of Bitcoin's evolution.
Yeah. Isn't there another couple other coins that are also pegged to the USD as well? Other than Tether, I believe there are.
Yeah, well, BitUSD is an asset on BitShares, and it's the same sort of idea, just having like an IOU on the blockchain to represent USD capital. That's my main issue with all these USD kind of base coins, I guess, is it's like, where is the money actually sitting that backs this crypto? And
right.
And because that is a central point of failure, I guess.
Yeah.
Isn't that the same idea as Ripple? The IOU on the blockchain is what Ripple effectively is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's that logic that Ripple came up with is going to be the backbone of sovereign nations' versions of coins. It's going to be something similar to that.
Tether's a little different because the only way to get into it is by using a wire transfer to buy it or use Bitcoin to buy it. So there's actual value there.
Wire transfer to where, though?
You have to wire. You essentially have to wire transfer to Bitfinex or another exchange that supports Tether, and get authorized, and then you can actually buy them and move them around.
Interesting.
So basically, got to put money in the gateway.
Yeah, you have to put money in the gateway to get in. There's no other way.
The Tether is Ripple with a different currency. I think that lends credibility to the USD on the blockchain being structured very similar to Tether and Ripple.
All right, Young Buffett, do you got any alts you want to mention or you're curious about, that you want to talk about?
Honestly, I haven't really been looking at alts too much. I've been more looking at Bitcoin. I know I used to be doing a lot more day trading, but now I'm sort of more looking at a long-term picture. Also, getting a girlfriend would do that to you. It's when you're trading altcoins, you have a girlfriend, so I chose a girlfriend. So.
Only veiled girlfriend brag.
I know.
Crypto widows.
The widows.
Yeah.
It's not healthy for relationships. I think we've had like 6 different people's relationships end because they can't separate from the computer. It's
that 3 a.m. sitting on the computer that's not the most appealing.
One more minute.
I wake up at like 2 o'clock in the morning to get on for the European session. So, yeah, if you're in the USA, you're going to go from 2 a.m. to about 4 p.m. and anybody who's dying for your time is going to want to kill you by the end of that.
Good
Crazy.
call.
That's why you have to find a Bitcoin wife instead of a crypto widow.
No, it's funny about crypto, isn't it? Like the adoption among women is just awful.
Yeah,
And
that's a rare breed.
Yeah, whoever penetrates that is going to be
you figured that out.
quite
half the
lucrative.
women-
Yeah.
Penetrates that _.
Yeah. If you can
Yeah.
penetrate that market.
It was good. It was good.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, it was actually a really good fun. So we gotta wrap it up.
Yeah. Let's kind of talk about Bitcoin TA here, and we'll like lead into it with Freddie. If you could share the screen, what we were talking about earlier with Gemini. Somebody did a fat figure buy on Gemini and bought up to $2,200 American.
That's crazy.
It was only about 86 Bitcoin, I guess. That was the buy that actually did it. So I think a lot of people chalk this up to poor liquidity. And you can see on Gemini, they just got a bunch of wicks and tails here. Like
They reversed that though. They reversed that transaction.
Yeah. Oh, they did.
They did?
It has been reversed, so that is no longer a valid point on the chart.
So
Wait,
was that
you can
guys-
reverse transactions?
was that advertising? Was that an ad buy or what was
86
that?
coins. It was
Somebody slipped their finger and did like a market buy with quite a bit of money, even though the order book's so thin, and it got up to 2,200 on 86
And
coins.
they reversed
Anywhere
that?
else, that wouldn't have happened.
I don't even see how they reverse it on that basis. There's
They
fraud
did.
involved. They usually reverse
They
it.
reversed it on the slippy wrong, press the wrong button basis.
Never heard of that.
it's a really
Very first time.
if you read the press release, it's really strange how they word it. They basically say it's like it's his fault, but we're going to do this anyways, just cause.
That might be the most courteous thing ever done by a regulated exchange I've ever heard
Yeah,
of.
that's
Yeah,
quite
I
nice
think
of
so
them.
too.
Yeah, well, I imagine the guy who sold his Bitcoin for $2,200 still got paid. It's just they gave the guy who did the fat finger
Yeah,
buy
did
his money
No,
back.
they
the other guy
reversed
get to
that
keep
too.
his money?
That's
I
not
saw
how
the copy of the email of the guy who sold it for a lot, and it got reversed on him.
I'd be fucking furious.
Yeah, they lost their money like they.
So there's no
Oh.
value in leaving like really insane sell orders on that exchange.
Yeah, that's a good point. No, I got something else I wanted to mention while we're here still is that Silk Road coin thing. I guess they got their coins last week, right? Eduardo, you have a bit of insight on this. Were these all institutional buyers that got in on that last round, or what?
Well, the biggest chunk went to ItBit, and everyone knows what that is. I believe there was 4 buyers in total, and the one that I do know in person got 1 block. So he acts on behalf of institutions, but he also does stuff on his side, and he managed to grab one of those.
Right. Hey, Young Buffett, can you do me a favor and pull up that illustration that you put up on Facebook the other day with that little graph that everybody's very familiar with, and share that screen, please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that pertained to Europe, by the way. It didn't happen in North America. It was an European buy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's essentially divested himself of all of his stock and all of his real estate, and he bought the block with it.
Wow.
That is so interesting.
Wow.
YOLO.
Yeah, he's done the European stocks. Everything's going to shit here. I'm out. That's it.
Yeah.
Do we know who this guy is, or?
I do, but I can't say who that is.
Oh, okay.
Eduardo, I love you for that discretion. Youngblood put something up on the internet the other day. Young Buffett, who is actually Youngblood. He's really young. But anyway, fucking motherfucker. But anyway, he put up a graph on the internet that shows this line. Maybe you can share the screen if he finds it. Where the institutional investors get in, the big money get in, and the public gets in, and then it crashes, right? It's interesting.
Just because I was talking to a few people who are new investors in crypto, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, what's happening to the prices?" And everyone's going through like the classic freak out that like any noob trader would go through in the beginning. So I just pulled up a funny chart just to troll some of my friends there that were panic selling during the the decline.
And he put it up at the proper time because it did crash literally a day later. But what's interesting is that Silk Road buy was made by institutional investors, and I think that's the single most important thing to mention out of that whole episode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's on our graph now.
Talking about this chart right here. I have it. I posted one a few times too. Yeah, it's a great chart. That one.
Yeah, right. Oh, there we are.
Yeah, that's the one.
That saves the day. So right there, you can see where does the institutional investors get in? They get in there. So guys, I don't know what to say, man. You know what I mean? That's what we're dealing with as mathematics right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of that supposed scam? What was it, like the MM group or whatever? What did you guys think of that? Like Forbes was trying to cover it like that was what drove the pump, was with this sort of like Russian scammer who started some like multi-level sort of scheme. What do you guys think of that?
I saw the website. I don't think it was very legitimate. Like there could have been that much money going to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the makings of the pump we picked up on from like in the summertime. There was a lot of signs that it was coming. You know, I'll show you like what was a chart I made for it.
Well, that is a freaking desktop.
Yeah, I've been a little busy. I haven't got a chance to clear to
It's time to get it made.
Yeah, that's really bad. I made a chart for it. I think I actually might have. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, it's really embarrassing. One second.
You're in charge of the clipper. Ready to go.
All right. Thanks, Freddie. Hey, Freddie, what's Bitcoin going to be next week?
I think we're heading up. So what's it now? 340?
Yeah.
400.
All right. Freddie has left the building.
He's off to blow up China.
Something like that, yeah. Sorry, Kaz, you were pulling up a chart. I got a little sidetracked here. Where were we?
Yeah, I'm trying to get a chart just to show you. This is a really basic chart that I did. I just dropped it on Twitter, but I covered up the bulk of it. I made this chatting with Cobain back in September, and it was one I made in the room, and I just dropped it in. It was really basic from wisdom, but you can see really clearly like the different eras of Bitcoin. Hold on.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing some of that.
Yeah, this one. Like this chart was like, you know, at the end of last year, we pretty much vacated the crypto space right around here in September. Well, we were still in it. We traded the short obviously down and all that. But we were moving to capital markets like, you know, stocks, futures, and stuff like that with the whole crew. But when we looked at it, we looked back here, and you had this really like, you know, this is Phoenix. You see this low area of volume. Right here on September 15th it was, the volume like kicked up another notch, like an algo turning on Trex. It was just like a different order of magnitude in volume when this consolidation broke. It never stopped. It maintained a different level of playership in this whole region. So this entire range, you know, we were able to isolate it as an accumulation zone. And then, you know, we saw the whole room took the short down to the very base from this. This region then created an even higher order of magnitude of volume that sustained the previous two eras of Bitcoin. You go back and you really look at it. Where's my chart for it? So you guys know how to use a volume profile, and you look at like Bitcoin overall, and just go to stamps. I don't know what TradingView did, but they killed the history of Phoenix. I used to go back a little further, but you can see this on stamps much more clearly. What the hell is happening? You look at this. This is the highest level of playership in Bitcoin ever. And prior to this happening, I'd actually put a chart up that showed that the real key level of Bitcoin was down here in single digits. But the highest level of accumulation in volume ever in Bitcoin's history actually occurred here in the 240s, 230 area. And that's definitely worth noting. You know, this is what I talked to you about in the previous two block talks, that there's somebody was huge in the order books. You remember that? And that's what I meant. Because somebody was able to suppress the price of BTC and have the volume churning at just a ridiculous level and accumulated a massive core position, which just like a shitcoin led to that parabolic pump that you see. So I think, you know, somebody different is in the order books today than was previously. And my rationale, the only people that could have fit the bill for what was going on was the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ was test pumping coins on the blockchain, and, you know, Ace explained that it's about security. Bitcoin and Bitcoin prices really can't keep falling off a cliff if you want to have a secure network. So who would be a large player that has a vested interest in securing Bitcoin and the blockchain, do things like that? And the only person doing that, like a really high level experiment in the blockchain right now, is the NASDAQ. There are a couple banks testing, you know, innovations around blockchain, but I think at the moment that institution has the greatest rationale to be involved in this. They also put out a story which was pretty unique with NASDAQ themselves and basically flooded Bitcoin right before the pump went off. Fractal Hedge actually posted it and called it that exactly what it was. It was a flood misdirection, and then the shit went ape. So I think a large institution's in here, and it's probably something like that, a large bank or NASDAQ or somebody to that effect that's experimenting on blockchain and needs a secure network. But I definitely think if you look at it in this scale, this is absolutely worth noting, that you have your highest level of volume ever in this particular box range right here. That's this box range. Yeah, this I posted this up here. Like when me and Cobain were having a chat, this is what we noticed. Like this is just like a shitcoin with a suppression wall on it, and they're just literally sucking in all the volume. So who spent 10 months doing this? I don't think this is a Ponzi scheme that led to the breakout. This behavior is an absolute accumulation pattern. So somebody had a vested interest in structuring a really large pump and accumulating a shit ton of coins to do it with. You think of like coins that did things like this in last year's market. What was that one crazy coin that had like the biggest pump last year?
Last year or in the spring?
It was the Euro coin.
Oh, Euro
did something like this. It had a massive accumulation that, like, literally, if you knew the pumpers who were involved in it, I knew who some of the guys pumping it were. I mean, they had the patience of a saint to take in the amount of coins they needed to create the size of the pump that they created. And there was patience. I mean, they were like in there for a year waiting to do what they did with that coin. So, you know, when you see something like this and the kind of time frame it took and the level of complacency it brought into the marketplace, it put everyone to fucking sleep. You got your typical crash cycle. Everyone's interest like went through the shit can. That's why no one was prepared when it blew out 316. If you saw, I put a post up. I said, if he clears 316, this thing's going to go fucking ridiculous. Because nobody was in the mind state to actually act on it once it got through that level. People were looking for tops every 10 bucks. And after being chopped to shreds for 10 months in this tight-ass range, I can see, you know, why the sentiment would be shifted that way. But once it left this range, you got a moon spike pump, and now you've landed back on top of the range. This thing's not over yet. The structure of this price, if you notice, when you have massive spikes in BTC, it takes time to work off the volatility. A lot of people who are emotionally involved once this happens, and you need time for those idiots to go away. So you get consolidations behind these, you know, very parabolic motions. This one right now is going to need time, just like this one down here, and the one in the beginning of the year. You get these, just like I mentioned. Remember I mentioned these two structures in the last show from Phoenix? We looked at it on Phoenix, and I actually marked them for you. In the last show, I put this pattern on it right here. And I showed you that the structure of this parabolic dump and consolidation was exactly the same size. What normally comes is a moon pump out of it. This moon pump came out of literally the whole range, not just this structure. So to me, like, this entire range here is worth paying attention to. BTC has landed smack on top of it, and you're going to have time for this entire structure to structure out and allow for a new move to take place. But by no means was this just a Ponzi scheme pump that actually had such a level of organization to create this. I don't buy that for an instant. But I'm also not really big in trying to figure out what the real reason is either, because the more you try to do that, you attach your mind to a biased position. Regardless if you do get the answer, you don't, what does it really matter? The structure of what was to come in this, it's laid in the footprint of the price structures on the chart. I don't really need to know the fundamental logic of who did what. I just know what the footprint of a motherfucker is going to pump this shit looks like when he does it, and it looks like this. So, do I think it's over? I don't think so. This was probably hundreds of millions or billions of bucks are inside this move. Somebody really big's got a vested interest. This probably still be.
What I've been hearing from a lot of people is they're not quite sure if this was like the test pump or if we're just kind of consolidating before we continue upward right now. Like if you look at the run up to 1200, there is kind of a small little dip, I guess, on the weekly chart. But then there's other people who are saying, well, no, this is the run to 150 before that happened, so we're probably going to do some boring shit for 2 months.
You could see pretty boring price right now. I mean, look at it. You got spike here, spike here, spike here, spike here, spike here. When do you ever see another spike behind a spike? It just doesn't the way the prices work. You know, in a crash cycle, you need time for the dumb money that's caught in this to go away. And you need time for the people down here to become complacent again. And that's always what you see. You know, high volatility begets low volatility. It's the cyclical nature of markets. So, you know, people who are sleeping at the switch for the whole year and are now, okay, now I'm ready to be back on BTC. When those guys decide they're going to go back to wherever they came from, that's going to be when the next move comes.
I'm in full agreement with Kaz, and I also noticed a bit of a pattern in that range that you talked about.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just going to share my screen here for a second. Let's here, share entire screen.
Kaz is talking, just made a wick up to 350.
Did it?
So,
yeah, just
I got
now.
alarms, yeah.
Can you guys see that?
No.
Can you see the chart?
Look at Bitstamp right now.
This is the Bitstamp chart I have on the go. So on that, when you're
That
talking about,
conversation publicly, Yosh.
Oh man,
is
yeah.
this share actually working? Because I can't see
I'm
it.
not
Today.
kidding.
I can't see you sharing yet, Eduardo.
Yeah, sorry. I pulled up the stamp chart here on my laptop, and yeah, we just had a massive rip, $20 up.
That's like we have to be careful what we say live because
How about now?
There you go.
Yeah, I see it now. Go ahead.
Okay, so when you talk about that range that we see over here for the past few months, I
Mhm.
put it on the 3-day because what I've noticed is that on the RSI on the bottom, you see these peaks. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. So when people talk about the MMM Ponzi scheme, we were due for a peak at that exact spot if you're following the pattern that's been happening all year. It's basically equidistant down to like the day. It's kind of very
it's
well
rhythmic. It's
timed
definitely
and
not a
planned.
Ponzi scheme. I agree with you. It's not a Ponzi scheme. Like there's
It's
a
not a
structure
Ponzi scheme.
that you could see for the whole year. And if you knew how to read a chart, you would have detected it from the summertime.
Yeah, and I think now we're going to consolidate for a little longer, and I think the timing of what's been going on, whoever's manipulating it is going to maintain the same timing. So I think about 3 to 4 months, we're going to see our next massive spike, like the previous spikes.
That's interesting. I'll keep that under my hat. That's a good point you made with the rhythmic nature of the spikes. They are pretty equidistant apart.
Yeah.
That's a
They're too equidistant. It's like almost too planned in a way.
Yeah, humans are very mathematical. A lot of things seem coincidental, and it's just the fact that we are rhythmic creatures.
Did you count the days on this, Eduardo?
I didn't count the days, but from
right.
panel observation, I was really feeling that there was a spike coming, and people were like, "Oh, it's the auction. Someone's going to pump the auction." I'm like, well, no, because we're due for a spike anyways, so I don't think that's what the factor is going to be.
Yeah, I think something much different is going on than we realize.
So that will put us, as far as the timing goes, we're now in November. So November, December, January, February. So sometime between February and March, we're going to see the next spike, which will probably take us into the 680s, I'd say.
Yeah, we're in November. It's interesting the timing of the way the November rally really happened. Thinking about BTC of 2013, I think a lot of people thought about it being a fractal of 2013, the eruption that we saw in November through the end of the year. If this thing found legs to go up and take out that spike before the end of the year, that would be pretty incredible to see a parabolic like that, followed by an even bigger one that broke it. If that were to happen and it were to break high, I'd tell you everybody and their mother probably should hit the button because that would require some immense capital to do it.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen the way it happened before in November.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
That's that Bitstamp pump is pretty friggin' funny.
Yeah.
It broke 340 now.
Yeah, which I think is the top of the range for now.
Yeah,
I think
it's a
we're going to
breakout.
be in that. Remember the whole year was like between 220 and 240, kind of like dipping the 200s a bit, but like it was the whole year like that. I think the 320 is the new 220 right now.
It's an interesting idea. I think, well, you said 320. I think if you sit on top of 316 on Fin, that was the high side of that consolidation pattern I just showed you in that box range. So treat the whole box as the position of the MM right now that generated the pump, and he can dip into his range, but for the most part, I think 316 is the line in the sand on Phoenix to watch right now, and they'll wick through it by a few points and trap people out. But I think we would consolidate and vibrate around that price level now until the next movement is ready to come.
Yeah, and I don't think the next movement is really going to happen unless 388 is broken.
On the high side to get back out of here, let me look. I'm using Phoenix's levels. So I mapped the exchanges up. I mapped Phoenix at the different time that I mapped BTE. So I have to switch off from those charts to get the ranges of the next segment. But I'll show you.
Yeah.
Where did it go? So yeah, that's the range. Look at it. There's your wick right here. This is this failed to make high, and then you have this parabolic. These guys, this is like the roof of the range. But this box right here contains all of this volume of the year, and now you've gone up to on Phoenix, 509 and crashed smack on top of it, and are actually stalling there. So, I don't think anybody's going to get a chance to buy where whomever's got the massive accumulation here is. So I would look for it to stall on top of this and continue higher.
I would also buy any small dip below it that will probably end very quickly.
I don't think you got to chase a lot. If you're in a daily time frame, when you look at this, right, when you've got these super 90-degree type trajectories in price, you don't really have to come rushing in for anything. A lot of people get emotional about this, and I'm going to miss out. The fear of missing out takes over, and you're like, I've got to get in. But if you ever look at them, you have so much time after these kind of parabolic spikes to kind of watch the price sort itself out and find its equilibrium. You should never rush into this. After a highly emotional moment, you need all these people to die and get the hell out of here. On Fin, it was actually funny. My only high level in Fin is actually just above where the price was, but I had put that from like forever ago. I only really mapped Fin down from here. It was like back in October I actually mapped it. BTCE is probably the better place to watch what's going on. Oh, damn it. I don't have that chart ready. It's in a different chart. Above BTCE, there's some really good levels going to the 400s, and my equilibrium price that I think looks really good on BTCE is between 490 and 506. That area is attractive to me for it to get to and sustain in time, but at this moment from this spike, it definitely needs some time to work itself out. Again, same box range. Just look at the high of the box range. Price is dumped and literally smacked right on top of it. So look for it to do some kind of structure like this, parabolic, and consolidate and narrow. And when that's done, I'd probably say Eduardo's probably not bad on that timing. He's talking about February right here for this thing to basically draw itself to a place where it can move from. So he's looking for a structure like this, and this point on the structure would probably be February. I don't think that's a horrible idea you got there. I think that's actually pretty astute.
Okay.
So I guess to summarize, Kaz, what do you think the price is going to be next Friday at 7?
In a week, just looking at it, if I had to, a week of time for it to shake people off. I think it can be a little bit higher, not a whole hell of a lot. I don't expect it to really clear through here, like this area. I think it would congest there. So best case scenario in a week, on which index are we using? Finex or BTCE or who?
We're using Finex. They seem to have they've been loyal to us so far.
Let me turn this shit off real quick. I'd say and you like 381. If you're talking Finex, yeah, my key level on Fin is actually 379. So same area. I don't think we get across that in a week. I think we should be under there. So I'll go with 1 week exactly on Saturday. Go with 379.
379. All right, Freddie put down 400. He's feeling bullish again. Eduardo, what do you think?
There's the factor of what happened this weekend when the markets hit on Monday. I don't quite know how they're going to react, but I'm going to say we're going to stay in this range for the time being, and if we get up there, it'll probably be in the 360s before it sells off back down to this range. I think 220 to 240 is the range for the next while, kind of like the whole year was 220 to 240.
So what's your number then?
My exact number for a week from now. Put me down for 340.
340. All right. Let's start going down the line here. The Sheeb. What's going on, bud?
I'm doing all right. I'm going to be a bear because you guys are all bullish and you're all indicators to me. And I'm going to take 310.
310. You little bastard.
I'm just joking.
And Yosh, what are you thinking?
I think there's still a lot of people charging into this. Don't know what the hell they're doing. I still see a lot of people on forums like, where do I trade Bitcoin? Like, kind of noobs humping in. So I don't think much of a change in this price here. It's currently at 340. I'm gonna say a little bit more bullish, maybe under 350, so 349 or so.
349.
Yeah.
I think he's right. I mean, you're going to have some motion to get, the noobs coming rushing into the market out. You can slam it, 10, 15 points and boot them off in OKC or whatever. I think in a week you've got a lot of time for them to do a lot of shenanigans before they actually ultimately move at all. But Eduardo's probably right. On Sunday and Monday, we're going to see probably a few markets do some reaction to what happened on Friday in France and some of the panic and things like that used to push prices around. Whether or not it fundamentally is actually tied to it, I think that, market players are going to use the news to take advantage of it and move things. And gold's going to probably have a decent motion next week, oil too, and the U.S. dollar. So Bitcoin more than likely won't stand pat during that. But it definitely is going to sort itself out before it takes a direction. And let's see where the sentiment of the crowd is when the markets start to move Sunday. Probably give us better insights into what they're going to do to get people off and get going again.
Hey, Kaz, what do you think is the price that we need to reach before the FOMO really kicks in again?
Like right at this moment, like even next week if it started moving.
No, just in general before we like really see the MOFO really coming on.
The FOMO really only can come when the crowd is like literally not aware and all show back up at once is the FOMO. So I have a chart for that. I always do. 1 sec, I'll get it.
Well, while you're pulling it up, Kaz, let's get a price from young Buffett.
Yep.
I feel pretty similar to Yosh's view. Personally, I thought it was going to be around the 350s range. So just to be weird, I'm going to do like 358.
358. All right, and then us here. What do you think?
How much is the Canadian dollar worth anyway?
Oh, in Canadian dollars, I think we're at like 450 on Quadriga.
Okay. So that sounds better. So you're, I'd just say 312.
312. Oh, so bare. Okay.
Oh man, that's like my value range just got.
He just screwed you Price is Right style.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, I got it now.
Bob Barker.
That same chart that young Buffett mentioned in the beginning, this is the more detailed version of it. This is the crash cycle one. You guys have all seen this one. Everybody posts it now. And this is like the same thing as what young Buffett was talking about. That one's just a lot more simplified. But, the FOMO that went into BTC doing this shit right here, like this kind of structure you're talking about, Eduardo, when we would see like this kind of come again, another crash cycle bubble, you got to have what you had when Bitcoin was leaving like 316, like people looking for the top every $5, because those are the very same people who come in as buyers at the higher side. So while the whole crowd is like dying to figure out where to rush into it, we need to get to a place where the sentiment in the market's like this, and you're gonna have to drag the market sideways and basically time correct that sentiment out that's present to get the whole market to be completely unaware again, so that the next time you're rising prices and they all come leaping into it, that's north of 500. You've got a lot of cold wallet and bag holders that are sitting on shit in 500 that when they see that price, they're gonna be like, get me the fuck out of this. And when those guys are gone again and another consolidation period takes hold and then another rally above that zone, I think that's when you most likely could see it. You have in this range here, this 500 range, right? And this almost is like a small version of this entire consolidation. This range, really, if you look at it like from here, from like basically 316, 420s, there's a spike through it to like 460, but it needs to be on top of like this entire range to FOMO again. It needs to be through this wick, consolidated, time corrected, and then another rally going upwards. I'd say people would really shit themselves that this is going to be fucking ridiculous, like blowing out 700, like blowing this level out here. And you would see like a much larger style version of this kind of FOMO that resembled this the minute we actually showed prices that blew out last summer.
And that's in the February range again, time-wise.
I don't know if if you get your consolidation pattern to February, it's like to here, and then the move begins again and clears out 500. I mean, if it clears this wick after what this shit was to do it, and there's another move in 3 months with enough energy and volume in it to take it up again, I mean, it might power all the way through to the top of this range, to the top of the summer range, in the straight motion for that, if that actually happens. I think FOMO, like that kind of style FOMO, is not going to happen until you're north of what happened in summer last year, though. I think the bulk of people that are still active in crypto that have any BTCs that got really caught are caught from this summer consolidation and from this last one here where they thought that it would hold the floor. I think that's where the bulk of your cold wallet volume that's trapped is in these ranges here. And I think it's honestly the low side here, like in the 5 to 550 range. I think there's a lot of people that would basically become supply and get the fuck out of Dodge if they saw that. And some good violent swings in that area would scare those that tried to hang on for a second and get their coins out. And once their coins are out and the bulk of people are out in that range, those guys will be the future demand for FOMO to push it higher once it clears the range that was in. So to me, getting north of this shit's where the bulk of everybody's not going to be around and will be able to become future demand.
So 680 is the new 320. The previous 320 is now 680.
I think up there, yeah. I think this whole shit's gotta go, man. You got all the Gox dead and the Bitcoin like lunatics. Everybody was sucked into this shit. This whole range ate everybody alive. Like this surge right here in February, right here, in this range right here, looking at 5 to 80s, like right through the same consolidation. So there is a ton of people that are still holding coins trapped deep underwater from this area. And those guys aren't going to get to sit there, be jackasses, and survive this shit and get out of it. It's going to come back there. It's going to mind fuck them. It's going to dump again. It's going to get them to say, fuck, I had my chance to get out. I didn't take it. Get me the fuck out of this. And then when you get all those coins out and regain this level, at that point it'll have the ability to move because it'll have nobody in there to jeopardize, the position of the market maker. No available supply from anybody who survived will be there. And all those guys who are out of their coins will be fucking screaming to buy back their coins much higher when they realize they fucked up. So
and all the smart money have accumulated them all.
Yeah, obviously the smart money is who's getting to scare the shit out of everybody and collect these coins, collect those coins, and that's the game, right? It's always what the smart money has to do is generate the fear required for you to make an irrational decision, which is what these charts are about, right? This I'm a genius moment, this is pure emotion. This is not logic. Nobody's going to buy any significant size in anything buys in such rapidly moving prices. Smart money likes to name its price and buy, where they want to buy. They do not get forced to buy, so this cannot be smart money in these kind of price structures. So, yeah, smart money will get the idiots out in spikes like these because that's what scares the shit out of people who are emotional, and they'll exit, they'll get control of their coins, and they'll take it up from there.
Yeah. Actually, while you're mentioning the accumulation distribution stuff right now, when you look at the Monero charts, and if you bring up that accumulation distribution indicator, even though for the past few months the price has been declining, the accumulation is continually going higher all the time. And that's what keep investing is seeing that everyone's accumulating and not dumping. It continues to go up and up and up and up.
Alex, can you put an Ethereum chart up and zoom out, like put on the weekly, get as much data on that thing real quick?
Yeah. Give me like a half second. I was just adding my price. I'm gonna say $2.99 for Bitcoin price. Using my indicator of Craigslist and seeing how many people wanted to buy that last peak, I think we really gotta like slam them down and scare the shit out of them.
I mean, like I said, that spike can come in leverage nature. These markets, by Tuesday, they could dump at 20 points and kick half the market out. So, does it have to sit down there? I don't know. That's kind of why I made the call that I made. They might very well kick everyone out and take it higher. But in a week in Bitcoin, with leverage going from, 3 to, 25 out there in the market, it doesn't take a lot to eject most of the guys in the marketplace today.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, here we go. We got her up here. This is just the USD. Let me put the Bitcoin chart price up.
Okay. That's interesting. I guess I haven't taken a look at the whole thing in a while.
Like right around here, I think it's like ICO prices, at least in terms of dollar value. So there's, I called this a bullish move the other day, but fundamentally, Ether's got a lot of supply still coming in, but.
I mean, the last rally where you are right now, I'd say that is your test pump, and they've settled back down and are in consolidation. They've got to see who's willing to come into the market since the test pump. It needs probably more time to structure out to see where they're going to move it from that range that they're currently sitting in underneath 30,000 sats. I know it might be worth keeping your eyes on.
Yeah, it rejected 30,000, it's 300,000 sats really hard. There was some big pushback there.
Who actually owns Ether right now?
Not I.
Nope.
Not I.
No altcoins, please.
We are in every goddamn market out there. Shitcoins are definitely on the last place on our list these days. We're active in Bitcoin, but between futures, CFDs, stocks, world indexes, chasing around frickin' polo is just not one of my to-do things these days.
I like liquidity.
I like liquidity, yeah, exactly.
No, I'm still holding my Doge long term.
It's pretty liquid.
Now that coin right there, everyone underestimates, man. That community was strong as hell back in the day.
I found myself the other day looking at our Doge and Doge markets, and it seems like Dogecoin still has quite a following with classrooms. It's a really good test network because there's actually value and established people that use it and stuff. And that was actually how I got my first crypto was Dogecoin, buying some on eBay. So
Doge was the first altcoin I ever bought. Well, I guess that's not true if you count Litecoin, but of the shitcoins that weren't leveraged, Doge was the first thing I ever bought. That one, my boy Big Daddy BTC called that at 17 satoshis. I didn't even believe him until it hit like 27. I was late as hell to it, and it still kept going.
Well, it ended up at like
200. We took it
290?
200 sats, yeah.
Yeah, no, I played 2 ways up on it.
He had an unfair advantage, though. He was inside, what's-his-face's room. Who's that doofus that used to be in crypto last year?
Yolong?
Wulong?
That guy, yeah. He was in his room when they were going to...
Yolong, I know. That was a Freudian...
Yolong.
Yeah. Wulong, yeah.
Hey, guys, look at the dump move going on in BTC now since we just fucking...
Bitstamp, I'm watching that right now. I was just about to comment on that.
Are we causing this shit? Oh my god, what the hell is going on right now?
Wow, it wicked 350, we're at 328 now.
It's just getting... No, look at the Bitstamp chart. It's at 328. It just dumped like 40 points.
Yeah, someone is FOMOing your talk.
Somebody's FOMOing everything we say.
This looks like a FOMC right here.
Like we just traumatized somebody in stamps.
I know.
Maybe the guy after he got his transaction reversed on Gemini is like, fuck this, I'm gonna go buy on other exchanges.
Oh my god, look at this. Hold on, look at the Phoenix chart. This looks ridiculous. Look right now, the 1 minute. I'll show you this. This is hilarious.
Oh, it's still going.
No, look at Phoenix. Phoenix is getting murdered right now.
Yeah.
Wow, dude, that's crazy.
Wow.
You see how much damage you've done with your Blocktalk show? I hope you're proud of yourself.
I know. This is a dangerous show. This is a dangerous show. They're going to start marking the calendars for the show.
Look, whoever is listening to us, you're not going to get rich in the next 10 minutes on whatever the fuck we say. Like, stop it. Look at the two candles. Like, it's so stupid.
You couldn't tell me that 20 minutes ago?
I was like, oh, it's like, I got you guys right now.
Bam, right back.
Buffett, if you're trading whilst in the room, you're getting like a 15-second drop on everyone on YouTube.
I know, right? Shit. Next time we come on the show, I have to be better prepared for this nonsense.
We'll see. We maybe should have made bets in the next 10 minutes rather than next week. But I think we got to kind of wrap this up, guys. We're getting on to an hour and a half. But this has been a fantastic show. I'm really glad we got some of local guys here. Eduardo, thanks for coming back. I hope to have you on again.
Thanks again. Love the invite. I'll come back anytime.
Perfect. Kaz, you're a beaut. Treasure, we hope to have you on again. And bring some of your friends. And we also got the young Buffett, the shadowy figure we've known and loved in the past hour and a half.
I love his presentation. That's dope.
That's so good.
I hope you guys like the background.
Yeah.
All right.
By the way, guys, Freddie's been sending me the invites, so I know he's going to be departing in the near future. So be sure to get my contact off of him.
Yeah, I'll get you on the Google Plus, and yeah, we'll do some more of these. Yeah, unfortunately, there's some rent changing going on here with Decentral in our space, and even in my personal life too. I got some issues with finding some housing or a new roommate. But anyone who's watching, yeah, shoot me an email. Maybe we can be roommates. Anyways, we will continue the show, and hopefully next week we can do something. If you guys have a developer or a coin you want to talk us to talk with, and maybe look through their stuff and see if there is real value there, yeah, leave a comment below, like and subscribe, all those fun things. Check out the Mycelium wallet; they're right up there with Airbits and the rest. It's a great platform. So yeah, thanks everyone, and see you in the next 1,000 blocks.
Adios.